I'm very passionate about the navigation of a salary conversation. It's awkward. It's awkward for everyone. It's awkward for the person asking. It's awkward for the person that has to answer, right? Compensation at the end of the day is something that's very personal to an individual. So what are your skills? What's your experience? What's your education and training? And then what does the job require you to do? And then kind of place your value.
Welcome to Security Cleared Jobs, Who's Hiring and How, the podcast for cleared professionals looking for new opportunities and career advice. We go behind the scenes with recruiters and hiring managers from leading cleared employers to uncover the information you need to make a smart career move. Get ready for insights from this week's guest and your hosts, Kathleen Smith and Rachel Bozeman.
Hey listeners, welcome back. It's your producer Ashley, and I'm sneaking in real quick to say happy 100th episode. Whether you've been with us since the beginning, or maybe you're new to our show, thanks for coming along for the ride to learn more about security cleared jobs. Now, without further ado, let's kick off today's show.
So hello, lovely listeners. It's another great day here in the podcast booth, and I am so excited to have a phenomenal guest, Kelly Douglas. We so appreciate her taking the time to be with us. Kelly is the Vice President of Talent Acquisition at SilverEdge Government Solutions. Kelly, welcome to the show today.
Thank you for having me.
I don't think anybody ever wakes up and says, hey, I'm going to be in talent acquisition when I grow up, but we all find a funny way of making it down this path. So tell us a little bit about your journey and how you ended up as the Vice President of Talent Acquisition.
You're right. I did not wake up and find myself in recruiting or talent acquisition. I found myself graduating during a recession. So that was a good one. So graduated college and was in a different field. And I've always been a very people-oriented person. So always the networker, I would say, and was trying to kind of figure out and forge my path and career, and was talking to some individuals that said, hey, talent acquisition recruiting would be a great space for you. So the suggestion was made to go to some of those large staffing agencies to really cut your teeth, get that good training, and understand what recruiting and talent acquisition is all about. So that's where my journey started. And throughout the next, let's just say 14 years, it was a lot of staffing agencies, different backgrounds, and then found myself in government contracting, talent acquisition in 2018. And then here we are.
I definitely hear you on starting in a recession. I actually think starting during a recession, you really also cut your teeth with that, because I graduated my MBA program in a recession, and I was like, okay, now that I spent all that money and time and hard work and now no one wants to hire me, really had to fine tune. So
Yeah.
good on you for moving into this. Now, SilverEdge, very familiar name, but let's tell our listeners a little bit more about what SilverEdge does in the cleared community.
SilverEdge is a private equity-backed government contractor. We are what was 6 different companies. And so we provide innovative and proprietary cybersecurity, software, intelligence solutions to our defense and community partners. So mainly a provider in the intel space. That would be about 90% of our business, and working on the protection of our cyber. That sounds so simple, but at the end of the day, the things that all of our employees do are very, very complex, and most of it we don't know about it.
I think you know a lot about it. Just can't tell us on here. I love it.
Enough to be dangerous, right?
Be dangerous. So speaking of that, about 90% of your positions you're filling require that full scope poly. So my recruiter heart, it just hurts for you, my friend. So tell me a little bit about what type of skill sets you're hiring for with those poly clearances.
Yeah, so we have a very broad scope of business that we cover, but a majority of it being in that technical landscape. So software, network, application, system, cyber of all different capacities, right? Engineers, admin, developers, all that good stuff. And then we have some positions that are outside of that technical landscape: analysts, targeters, finance and admin. But yes, like you said, around 90% require that full scope poly clearance, which is a challenge. That's a big challenge in this very competitive employment landscape as it is right now.
but I know y'all are tenacious and are making it happen. So that's the good news story. Kelly and team are really doing incredible things over there. So, the next question all the listeners want to know, where are these positions located?
Yeah, so I would say the DMV area, and for individuals that aren't local, that's the Maryland, DC, Virginia area, co-located to some of those intelligence customers. But to really narrow that down, it's Fort Meade, Maryland through Northern Virginia. So there's lots of different sites, but it's pretty co-located here to that DC beltway.
So obviously, when we're talking about that narrow corridor of location and we're talking about a certain type of clearance, you're not going to offer much in the way of remote work or hybrid work, but you do offer flexible schedules, which I think is absolutely fabulous. Talk a little bit how you work with your employees on making their schedules flexible.
At the end of the day, we're all at the whim of our customer, the end customer, I guess I should say, right? And the schedules that are needed, the collaboration that's needed. And because so much of the work that our employees provide is classified, confidential work and needs to be done in a space as such, there's core hours that they generally try and work around. So there's 10 to 2, let's just say, and they work within these hours for that collaboration. But outside of that, how they get to the 40 is kind of up to them. I will say it's very dependent on the work that they're supporting, where they're supporting it, and who they're supporting it for, because everything's a little bit different. But I do think that the industry is trying to pivot a little bit towards offering some sort of flexibility. Is there things that can be done offsite? Could you work from home one day on unclass stuff? Can you work 410s and still have a significant impact? So I do think that the industry is kind of going that way and looking for that flexibility. It's just a tough space that doesn't allow for as much as some people are used to these days.
I think that's a really great point that you're bringing up, is that the end customer in the cleared community is actually aware that this is a challenge within workforce recruitment and development. And we have shown that the mission can still be supported with a flexible schedule. And a lot of times I hear people talk about working in the defense and intelligence community is rigid. And I would say that given the pandemic and given everything that's happened after that, I've seen a lot of flexibility. It's just when we're talking about so many different missions, so many different customers that need to be supported, it needs time to work itself out. But, good on you for, working with your customers and working with your employees on being able to develop that really great flexibility. So let's talk a little bit more on working in a SCIF, working in a cleared facility. Who really thrives in a SCIF? What is the commonality to make those people successful?
I think that you're correct, right? COVID did so many different things and made so many different things apparent for us as companies and individuals. And I wouldn't say anyone necessarily thrives in a SCIF. I think that the people that thrive are very mission driven. I think they love what they're doing. They love the people they're working with, the mission that they're serving, and therefore maybe they're willing to accommodate to working in a SCIF. I mean, I think that a SCIF and classified area comes with so many different challenges, communication challenges, like availability to the outside world. Like, you could spend 8 hours and not know what is happening in the world around you. So there's a lot of different challenges that come with that. But I think that the very mission driven and mission focused individuals are the ones that, like the people that they work with, thrive the most.
So with just over 300 employees, I know SilverEdge is really in that acquisition mode, and that does have impacts on your company culture. So talk about that and how can that really be a benefit?
Yeah, so I think SilverEdge's growth is going to come probably organically through the current construct of business that we have, as well as potentially through some additional acquisitions, being that we are private equity backed. And the thing that I think that SilverEdge gains the most with each acquisition is that diversity in thought. Every company that SilverEdge is currently made up of had a different process, a different methodology and thought. Of course, there were some commonalities, but just given the fact that they were 6 very different companies, they all brought their different perspectives. And I think that there's something to be gained by every acquisition and furthermore, every hire that we make and the learning that you can have from their individual experiences. So I think that through every additional acquisition or hire or any growth that SilverEdge has in 2024 and beyond, we learn from those individuals, and that in the end makes us stronger.
I think that's what's really great in the government contracting space is that there is acquisition, and it's really exciting because a lot of innovative things happen and you see complementary talents and skills come together. So I've always enjoyed watching the sort of acquisition bursts that happen in the community. So I understand you, Kelly, are a firm believer in a cleared professional knowing their worth. And I agree with you on that. There are so many people that I talk to, that I mentor, that I coach, that just don't think they have much worth other than maybe their clearance and a very finite amount of tech skills. So talk a little bit more about a cleared professional knowing their worth and the value of understanding their contributions that they're going to bring to a new company.
Absolutely. So knowing your worth, let me clarify a little bit. I think it can go both ways, right? You have to understand the value you also bring at the cost. So this is a very, very high demand market right now. And we're seeing individuals ask for crazy, crazy salaries. And I think that there's something to be said for both sides. So I'm very passionate about the navigation of a salary conversation. It's awkward. It's awkward for everyone. It's awkward for the person asking. It's awkward for the person that has to answer, right? Compensation at the end of the day is something that's very personal to an individual. So what are your skills? What's your experience? What's your education and training? And then what does a job require you to do? And then kind of place your value. Where I think there's some individuals that have a challenge with this is those that have never navigated this conversation. So i.e. military. So those transitioning out, there's a lot of value in their compensation that is outside of their salary. So understanding what you need to add into your salary when you're no longer in the military, or individuals that are coming out of college that have, again, never navigated this conversation. I will say, and I think you've seen it in the industry, if you're hiring those individuals, they are very, very smart and very well educated. They got the message. They know how to do their research. And they're coming to you with like a 42-page PowerPoint on why they should be paid something. So again, I think it's something to educate yourself in both respects. Don't oversell or undersell yourself, because it kind of all catches up to you in the end. And so I think it's just the education piece that I'm most passionate about.
That's fantastic advice. So many people, it is awkward. We all turn into like awkward people when we say the word salary, and it's hard to take kind of that personal out of that whole conversation.
I just reflected on talking to a phenomenal transitioning military female.
Mm-hmm.
And when she was calculating her value and her worth for her first job, she literally did not look at her value. She looked at the cost expenses that she needed to cover.
Mm-hmm.
And so I think that diving down into this a little bit deeper, it is not, I have to pay my rent, I have to pay this, I have to pay that. It's your value. And you can look at comparables. You can look at salary.com. You can actually talk to other people. So back to you, Rachel. Sorry for interrupting.
No, I think it's great. And it's funny, I was right before this also trying to negotiate some worth and salaries.
Yeah.
It's really fun, what the hiring manager feels, compensation feels, the candidate feels. So it's a happy marriage. But I think exactly to both your points, it's about researching and advocating for yourself on the value you bring to the table. So I think we could talk about this all day. I would love it. So if you're free, later on, let's catch up on salaries. But something that we do want to talk about that I think SilverEdge does a really nice job at is internal mobility. I know sometimes that word is misused or misunderstood, but it's really a tool that you've been able to use in the retention space as far as your employees. So tell us a little bit more how you're using internal mobility at SilverEdge.
I think the other thing that, and we talked about it previously, that the industry is aware of with regards to working in SCIF and no remote flexibility, or limited, I guess I should say, is the burnout. Some of the work that these individuals are doing has a high burnout rate. It can be monotonous, very intense. It can be whatever it is to that individual. But for us at SilverEdge, we're really passionate about retaining our employees. We want to keep the talent within SilverEdge. And so when individuals come to us and say they're looking for a change for whatever reason it may be, the work they're doing, the commute, et cetera, We work within our current book of business, which we do have a very diverse program base, and look for another place for an individual to stay and retain their talent. So that's something that SilverEdge has done a great job of promoting, and our business leaders are very passionate about, and we maintain that. Does it always work out? Not 100% of the time, but I would say we do retain a good amount of individuals when possible. So always a goal and always striving to make it 100%.
And I think that that's really great. And I'm seeing a growing trend with several companies offering that as well. We do have to maintain the cleared talent within our community. And this is something that 25 years ago, I didn't see. I remember talking to several large companies, and if you retired, if you were burnt out or your contract was not re-upped, you were out on the street. So it's another way where I think that we're seeing a lot of really great changes within the cleared community as far as workforce development and maintaining our workforce.
Yeah.
So another employee retention tool that you have are benefits. I hear you have zero contributions from the employees into healthcare. Tell us a little bit more about that.
We do offer one healthcare plan that is a $0 employee contribution, which is an amazing thing to be able to offer employees. And then, of course, we have expansive additional benefits beyond that, your typical medical, dental, and vision. Another awesome thing that SilverEdge offers is pertaining to our 401k. So SilverEdge, regardless of your contribution, contributes 4%. So nothing from the employee, they put 4% in regardless of what you choose to do. And then beyond that, and in addition to that, if you contribute, they will match up to 3%. There's no vesting period, and it is put in on a per pay period basis, which again is amazing. And the thing that I think is very interesting about benefits is sometimes me not being in the benefits space, but always promoting benefits. And I think our team has done a really great job of educating our team on this, is you don't know what's out there until other companies start presenting you with things. Companies construct benefits so differently. And again, not being in the space and mainly being a consumer or talking about them with candidates, you don't know what's out there until you do. So I found some of the conversations that I've had with our HR team and benefits leadership to be very insightful. And I kind of commend SilverEdge for empowering our recruiters with those tools to work with candidates in such a competitive landscape.
Yeah, it's a tricky, fun slope out there with benefits, I tell you. I'm sure some of our listeners would love to be able to get in touch with you or your team to discuss opportunities there. How in the heck can they get a hold of you, my friend?
We do have on our website a place where you can interact with our team. It's join our team.silveredge-gs.com. And in addition, if you'd like that more instant personal connection, you can email us at recruiting@silveredge-gs.com.
Awesome. Well, Kelly, thank you so much for joining us today. And we really appreciate your insights and everything that you are doing for the community. And it was really great learning more about SilverEdge.
Thank you. I appreciate you guys having me on here.
So I really loved talking to Kelly about internal mobility, because my heart goes pitter-patter, because I am so excited when companies are really thinking of ways to keep their cleared talent. I really love that she talked about when people are burned out, when the commute is getting too much, that they'll look across their book of business and look for other contracts. Rachel, any other thoughts that came up for you in our discussion with Kelly?
There was so much great conversation. I agree that internal mobility just gave you the warm and fuzzies thinking about what's possible in this space. But I really also appreciated the conversation around knowing your worth, what that means in terms of your skill set, what it's worth to the company. And I really appreciated, Kathleen, your insights in there about it. What is it? It's not just what are my bills and what do I want, but what value do I bring to the organization? So I thought it was an incredible conversation with a lot of great insights for all of our listeners. So here we are at the end. Get out there and give us a 5-star review. Pretty please with sugar on top. What you waiting for? Till next time.